Don't let the countdown fool you. This is a recorded event of the Warchant GameDay pregame show, but it's because our guy, who's usually on the left of the screen for this show, is on the right, live to tape from Chicago, Illinois. It's Jeff Cameron. My name is Tom Lang. This is the Warchant GameDay pregame show presented by Hotel Indigo College Town. Our friends over at College Town are looking forward to two more home games, but today the Noles are on the road, and Jeff is wearing heavy cold weather gear. Look at the size of that jacket you're wearing, buddy. Where exactly are you in Chicago?
Lakeshore, not far from Navy Pier, which is right over my shoulder. That's Navy Pier back there. It's actually quite lovely. I'm not going to lie, though. The Windy City is, in fact, the Windy City. Mm-hmm. And now in my 50s, Tom, we were walking around last night, and it was 49 or 48, which is not bad. Which is heaven sounding to you right about now, right?
Yeah.
And it was 49 or 48 degrees, but that wind whipping off the water, buddy, I was like, woo! It'll wake you up. It'll wake you up. Meanwhile, my young cherubs, Bryce and Clark, are out here in T-shirts. What's wrong with you, old man? I said, I was your age once too, son, when the world couldn't get cold enough.
Yeah, time is a flat circle. That's. I mean, I remember when I was in college up in New York for one semester, I went to class in flip-flops and shorts, and everybody thought I was nuts. I was like, come on, guys, get with it. Get tougher. Florida State, will they be tough enough today? That is the topic du jour for Warchant GameDay's pregame show. We already see a shake of the head of a no. Jeff, you're an hour and a half bus ride away from the dump of the town that is South Bend.
Yeah.
But the issue is that we might be traveling in a dump truck rather than coach buses from wherever our hotel is to the football field today. This is a game where, again, it's going to be about how much do you care defensively. I hear myself, Jeff, you pin it on the defense so often because we know the offense is not equipped to fight at all. So it's a bit of an unfair burden. But when you take a look at the last two games of what rushing offenses have done to Florida State, Miami's rushing offense, North Carolina's rushing offense, they've averaged 260 yards on the ground. Florida State's opponents have the last two games. Notre Dame loves to run the ball. They've averaged over 220 yards on the ground their last three games. So you got an offense that loves to run the ball, and you've got a defense that has shown that it's cared less and less about stopping the run. Did you wake up feeling any better about these circumstances today?
No, I don't like the matchup, Tom. I think there's something at play here that is a bigger picture discussion. It seems these days that's all we can have right now because the games themselves, they obviously haven't played out the way we'd like them to, and Florida State's regressing in a lot of ways, Tom. So that's the hard part about having game discussions. But I don't mind identity discussions. When Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois, we were all kind of looking at Freeman with a jaundiced eye, much the way that Notre Dame fans were, because he's had some losses that'll make you scratch your head if you're a Notre Dame fan, and he's had some moments where you kind of thought like, well, maybe this is too big for him. I don't know, but you can't have these kinds of losses at home that he's had. And Tom, the thing is though, since that time they've played their best football. They've gotten better each week. I mean, I really feel like they've gotten better each week. And they've really decided, and this is what teams who want to run the ball do. And it can be a slow build when you've decided to dedicate yourself to the run or that's going to be your identity. But I really like where it takes you. You have to survive some early games that end up being low possession games and end up being lower scoring games. But if you come out the other side with a good record, and you've not let one slip away, or God forbid two, and Notre Dame only let the one slip away, and they got the win over A&M playing this way as well, you become a kind of team that's a real force when the weather gets like this. You become a kind of team that's a real force when you get into a playoff and you want to take away possessions from a high-flying offense. You become embattled. I think you really wash yourself with a lot of physical glory, man, because this is old school. We are going to punch you in the face. It makes life easier on your quarterback. Riley Leonard's looked a lot better because he's got this run game he can fall back on, and they throw off a play action. They utilize his legs. That opens up the entirety of the playbook at that point. I think we're running into the wrong wrong game at the wrong time. They've all been wrong games at the wrong time, but this especially feels tough to do. Now, you might say, well, if they come out inspired early and get some stops, maybe you shorten this game as well. And I do think that's the path, Tom, but you're going to turn it over to this offense on the road. We'll see, man. We'll see. I don't know that I have a lot of faith on the other side of the ball.
Well, it reminds me of Florida State a couple of years ago when they arrived, wherever they were playing, Bobby Bowden Field on the road, you knew that they could run the football. You knew that they would run the football, and so did the opponents. And everything just built off of that. I recall a road game 2 years ago against Syracuse where they end up scoring in the air a couple of times, quick little bubbles, outlets, smoke routes, things like that. You had the Malik McClain stiff arm to the kid's helmet in a one-on-one situation, and that was a great moment. But that's because the team is selling out to stop the run. Your opponent is selling out to stop the run because they know if they do not commit extra bodies, you're going to gash them on the ground. And it's a pleasure to watch. It's a pleasure to know that that's what you're going to do. And I think just from an entertainment standpoint and satisfaction standpoint as a fan, that's what last year's offense did not have, and that's why we felt kind of stuck in the mud at times. I'm not just talking about Mike Norvell wanting to run the ball and being pissed off that we could not run the ball. It's that when you can't establish a jab, you really don't know what your offense is going to look like week to week. But if you know, like the 2022 Florida State team did, that you're going to be able to run. Oh, I don't care who the opponent is. We're going to be able to run the football today. There's a calm that comes with that. And I'm sure you're going to feel that today from the faithful in South Bend, the people in Notre Dame Stadium and watching that game, that they know that they will be able to, if nothing else, run the ball. The issue for Florida State on top of that is you have a quarterback who's, he's a super senior in college. He knows what he is, and he's not trying to do the other thing. He's not trying to make a living by, let me prove to people that I can go 1 through 4 in my progression, and let's go 4 wide and run a spread offense. No, man, if he needs to run the football, he's more than willing to run the football. So, again, there's a freedom that comes with that mentality, and there's a freedom that comes with that knowledge that you're going to be able to establish the run week to week. And that's how Notre Dame plays, and that's what we should expect today.
I agree, and I think that it's something that Mike needs to aspire to when he's looking moving forward and he rebuilds this thing. He wanted to build this around toughness. He wanted to build this around being able to run the ball. You alluded to it. There were stretches where we could do that, but certainly from Jump Street this year, outside of the opening drive against Georgia Tech, Florida State has not been able to run the ball. In fact, it's gotten worse every week, Tom. And, they're one of the worst rushing teams in America. And that, I think, really kind of erodes any sort of effort to be tough. If you can't run in this game, you are by definition not tough. You're passive. You're having to win throwing the ball and spreading people out. And I don't think Mike ever intended this. He really, it's a strange game, Tom. He's going to be looking, maybe not exactly at what he wants to be, but he's going to be looking at something that he admires, and that team will run downhill, and it's an attitude too. It's something that we want to be, and we're just not right now. I don't know. Stranger things have happened. Maybe they find something today, but it doesn't feel likely to me at all. And because it starts at the line of scrimmage, and we say it every week like a broken record. If you can't win the line of scrimmage on either side of the ball, you can't win the game, and none of the other stuff really matters. I do think that if you get a great game from your defensive line, you could stymie Notre Dame some. But we both know how this works. We've seen them do it this year, Tom. They've come out and stymied some people up front and fought really hard. They've got some real talent there. Farmer is a talented player. Jackson is playing his best football of his career right now. Occasionally you'll see it where they are able to get stops in the run game and bow their necks, if you will. And you're kind of temporarily inspired in those moments. But when your offense goes 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, and you kick the ball back, it's hard to play physical defense where you sustain it for 4 quarters when you can't win field position and you're right back on the field. So, it's usually fool's gold early when we're able to do that. But that's the trick here today, is to try to do that and maybe get a turnover or something. You never know. You'd love to see this team play with some confidence. and they haven't had a reason to be confident. I know that. I thought when they got a 3-0 lead against North Carolina, they might think, okay, here we go. But the second things went wrong in that game and North Carolina took the lead, it was like we bowed out. And you got to be tougher than that. I'll tell you that. You got to be tougher than that. But what would it look like, God forbid, everybody, Florida State got a 10-0 lead in South Bend? What would it look like if all of a sudden they were playing a little carefree and felt really good about themselves? We both know, man, confidence, it breeds an awful lot of success, and you play above your head sometimes, or at least certainly, above this team's head this year with the way they've played. It could happen, I suppose, but you got to have a lot of good things happen very early in this game.
Well, you can have amnesia at that point if you get an early lead where, all this stuff like languishing through practice and again, I don't want to say that going through the motions, but you're 1-8. Human nature does set in. And this is where I do feel I feel at times that it's unfair to pick on the defense as much as we do. But then when they don't try and they're not coordinated on 3rd and 15 and there's an easy conversion and you're asking yourself, why are we running zone if you don't know what to do? Then you say, no, I'm justified. I'm justified to get mad at them. But the truth is we pick on the defense more because they're the only hope you have. The offense has not provided you any spark of a hope at all. And they have not scored 20 points on American soil. We're at November the 9th. We're on November the 9th, and they're probably not going to do it today, and you have a bye week. So you're essentially going to get to the Saturday before Thanksgiving, and Florida State will have not scored 20 offensive points in the United States of America this fall. Good freaking Lord. Today you would need trick plays. Today, I don't know what the hell you'd need. You need short fields because of turnovers. That's the path for Florida State offensively to get where it needs to go. Or at least to get where it can give itself a fighting chance in this game. It's just that point is so moot that we don't ever talk about it at length. We say the offense is awful, next, and then you point to something that's debatable. But it's just been not debatable for Florida State's offense that it's been so awful.
Well, there's no doubt about any of that, Tom. You're absolutely right. And it's really hard. It's really frustrating. It's very sad. And I've been very sad for Florida State fans for weeks now. Holding out hope. I meet people all the time. Saw some lovely people last night that, they're from Chicago. They're Florida State graduates, and they're going to the game today. They were so excited when they saw this game on the schedule because they've lived in Chicago for 9 years. They moved up here. It's a husband and a wife team. Moved up. They met each other in undergrad at Florida State. Fell in love. Got married right out of college. Both got jobs here in Chicago. So they were so excited about Florida State Notre Dame when it was on the schedule. And then I run into them last night, and they're like, yeah, we were debating even going. I'm like, it's in your backyard. You're diehard Noles, and you were debating even going. It just makes me sad for people like that. But I do have some good news to report, Tom, and I'm not trying to break any news, but, I have some sources up here and some people that I talk to and I've been talking to for weeks. And I'm going to speak in generalities here for a second. The conversation went well about the changes that are coming. And I think Florida State fans want some assurance that changes are coming. Changes are coming. Lots of changes are coming. And I'm not going to get into specifics right now, and I'm not trying to just say something to say something. But the source that I talked to last night is in the industry, is somebody that is they've been disappointed by what's happened, but at the same time, they've talked to enough people within that group. You and I have referred to this a lot. It's actually a small community because you have a super agent, you've got a few other competitors, got a couple of agencies that represent these agents, and they talk to specific reporters and people like that, and you can get information pretty quickly if you're tied into that. And those people, it's not just one guy. Several of those kinds of people seem to think that Mike understands. Mike understands. This is not a little, this is not a blip on the radar. This requires a lot of heavy lifting, and I think the efforts are underway to figure that out and about how many people are coming in and how many people are going.
I don't think that's any coincidence that over your left shoulder where you're holding the phone, the sun is rising in Chicago. You know, that is the glow of hope behind your left ear there that you're providing. So, it's interesting because I caught a whisper too this week, and what that whisper said is in line with what you're saying. I'll add this. It's just a matter of the timing, and that's the only thing that is unclear. But beyond the timing part of it, expect it. We see it in our comment section and we see it in the live chat when we do the JCS, the Jeff Cameron Show, which you can find here at Warchant TV, weekdays, 1 o'clock, Seminole Headlines, 1 o'clock on Tuesdays. People are saying he doesn't have the guts to do it. I never got that sense that he didn't have the guts to do it. And it certainly doesn't seem that way. And this is where we talked about this almost a month ago. I said, here's my silver lining. Here's why I feel hope about this program. This is so bad that you can't not make changes. Like you must make sweeping change. And my hope, buddy, is it's not just a personnel change, but it's also some tweaks to philosophies. Because this is why those people in Chicago are justified. There are losing seasons, and then there is this spirited, emotionless nothing, void of a football season. Like it doesn't even feel like we're present at those games. And I don't mean we, the fans. I mean the folks wearing the helmets and the garnet and gold. You don't feel that. It doesn't evoke anything. The game just happens. There's no collective experience. And that's why I feel those people are justified. And that's why this is a different animal altogether than just a simple losing season. Because we've had plenty of those the last 10 years. This one is completely different.
Yeah, it is different. It's why I said what I did passionately the other day on the show. I know we used it as a breakout video. The fans feeling fleeced. That's why they feel fleeced. And I'll say this. I really think that Florida State fans want to believe in Mike. They want Mike to get this right. They don't want to start over. I know there's a lot of people that would call for Mike's job right now, and I've said I understand that too. And I do understand it. I don't think it's, I've entertained those conversations. In the past, people would knee-jerk react, fans often do, about a bad loss or a bad game or something that pissed them off. And, instantaneously, every fan base, not just Florida State, we need to move on from this coach. And a lot of times we kind of roll our eyes knowing big picture-wise, it's not that easy. You can't just hire and fire people left and right. You can see Florida is really fighting not to have to fire Napier. They've said that they're not going to fire him. There's a good chance he loses out. Well, they'll beat us. But, the point is he's going to finish with a losing record again this year, and they're not going to fire him. Programs do not want to have to continue to hire and fire people, especially not right now where they're trying to figure everything else out because the game is changing right before our eyes. But people genuinely like Mike, and I think they like him because they know he cares. They like him because he did have success, and they want him to get it right. But they just want to know, does he understand how far gone this is? How far down? Sorry about that. I got the beautiful sunset coming up over Navy Pier behind me. Does he understand just how far gone this is? Because when they hear him say things like, oh, I don't think they quit, people get mad because they saw him quit. Now, that's coach rhetoric. Coaches never want to admit their players quit because there are a few players out there every week that don't, and they don't want to label them as quitters amongst those that were. So they typically avoid ever saying that. And if they say it, they usually come back and recant the way that Jimbo did. He told me after the Boston College game they quit. 2 days later, he was telling everybody they didn't. And you remember that interview, and I remember laughing about that.
Yep.
But anyhow, they want him to get it right, and I do too. It's just going to have to be a major undertaking. Now, I will say, for all the talk that we've had, Tom, and the whispers that we're hearing about an overhaul, I cannot pinpoint exactly who's gone and who's here. That remains up for debate for a variety of reasons. And I think if we wanted to speculate on those reasons, it's 100% recruiting, because you have a coach that most of us think they should move on from. We've got several coaches that most of us think we should move on from, if we're being honest. But one in particular that has watched this offensive line regress this year. And I'm not sure if Alex goes or not. Don't know that he is. Don't know that he's not. but he's the only guy that actually has some people in this recruiting class that would be worth keeping. Everybody else seems to have lost their guys and or in the process of losing their guys, and you can easily move on from them. But you've got three really good offensive line prospects, though, that you worry about. Now, I know what the counter is. Is he going to develop them? What's the point? But, I'm not making a case for him to stay or not stay. I don't know who stays and who goes. I know that the discussion up here is that there are a lot of changes coming. And I think you're right. It has to be a philosophical change for Mike as well. And I'll be curious to see how he executes all this. There's a lot of stuff coming down the pike in the next couple of months that are going to dictate Florida State's future. And obviously, no shortage of conversations surrounding that on a daily basis. I don't say that solely because we want you to stay locked in here at Warchant, which we do, of course. We appreciate your patronage. But at the same time, it's true. There's just a lot going on with the condensed recruiting schedule, signing day, and transfer portal, and all that other stuff that we talk about, coupled with all the changes Mike has to make on the staff.
Yeah, coming up in the next couple of days here for Florida State, there's a media availability for Mike Norvell on Monday at 11:30, but there's not much else, if anything else, coming next week for Florida State football. There's a bye week, so we'll see if obviously there are changes to that end. I can tell you that one organization that would really like to see some changes, not just because they want Florida State fans to come up to games, we got 2 home games left, but also because, recruits and families stay, Jeff, at Hotel Indigo all the time. Today's pregame show is brought to you by Hotel Indigo, Tallahassee College Town. Whether you're a frequent guest, a business, hosting your event, or stopping by the restaurant, bar, and rooftop before an FSU home game, Hotel Indigo wants to thank you for your continued support and being a part of the family. Want to host your next event with the best view of Doak in town? Do you have a recruit who's pretty good at football and needs a place to stay when they visit Florida State? Call Jay Green today at 850-755-9011. 850-755-9011, Hotel Indigo, Tallahassee. Welcome to our neighborhood. All right, so, buddy, you understand what the result is likely to be better than just about anybody other than maybe the coaching staff who need a miracle. But you're going to hop on a bus today, a first-class service over to a beautiful tailgate. You've got to be excited about that. You get to go catch one of the legendary, game atmospheres, game day atmospheres in all of college football. We chide South Bend, but I mean, legit, this is one of the cool experiences, and you get to share it with your family. So you got to be pretty pumped today.
Really pumped, and I'm really excited. Like you said, I get to share it with my family. And a lot of times these trips, I'm solo. This time I brought the wife and both boys. They've never been to Chicago. My wife's been to Chicago many times with me, but the kids have not. So they're already really excited, and I love to see it, experience it through their eyes. To watch my newly minted 17-year-old walk the streets of Chicago wide-eyed. We did New York City with you this past summer, and Chicago now here in the fall, which is fantastic. He's loving this weather. My 14-year-old Clark, he's loving life too. To see them get on this bus to get into South Bend and tour the campus, we're going to do that. Make sure we're going to do that for sure. Get to be around my fellow Noles and take this all in. It is exciting. I'm not going to let what I think the outcome of this game is going to be to ruin it. I'm going to have a good time, and I'm going to enjoy the folks with Spirit over there. In fact, we head over that way. It's 7:28 here at the time that you and I are recording in the morning in Chicago. 8:28 your time, Tommy. You've been bright-eyed and bushy-tailed for some time.
I have.
Chicago's just getting going here. Yeah. So we gotta. I mean, I can't ask for anything more as a father. I mean, we got a beautiful hotel room overlooking the lake and Navy Pier right over there, like I was saying, and we're gonna do a lot of touristy things tomorrow. Since the kids haven't been to the Hancock Building, of course, we got to do the deep dish and all that stuff, and go to the Art Institute of Chicago, go to the Field Museum, several other wonderful places we're going to check out. So this is going to be a good time, a good 48 hours, a busy 48 hours. And, I do try to remind myself that that's what covering Florida State, being a part of college athletics, being a part of college football, being a part of something like this provides you, are these opportunities. So that's not lost. That's not lost on me, even when the games are lost on the field.
Well, you can say this about today's game, too. This is one of the last times you're going to see this organization of Florida State football exist, in this manner with this personnel. So changes are on the horizon there. I will leave you with this one final
question. Can I give you one more really quick?
Yeah.
Just for you, Tom, just for you. And I have to admit, it ruined it for us. So we're eating last night. I'm getting ready to leave, and I'm waiting on this guy to get his drink, and I'm walking up to get my tea, and this guy says, "Are you in town for the game?" Because I was wearing a Florida State shirt, of course. And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh, I just wondered if you lived here, if you're a Nole who lives here, or if you flew up for the game." And I said, "Yeah, no, we flew up for the game." And he goes, "Well, good luck to you." He goes, I'm a Notre Dame grad. I'll be going to that game." And I said, "Well, have fun. You guys are going to probably stomp our ass." And he smiled. He goes, "Probably, but, we like to play with our food sometimes, so it could be close." And we start chit-chatting. He turns out to be the nicest damn guy in the world. He welcomed us to Chicago. He's like, "Well, we have a big tailgate we've been doing for 28 years over there. If you want to swing by, we'll be grilling out. We'll feed your family." I'm like, "Oh, buddy, you are going so far to ruin our reputation of this place."
Wow.
Yeah, he was like, "Bring your kids by. I can point out some places around campus that they might like. We really want you to have a good time." And he was freaking genuine, Tom. He was genuine.
Well, maybe what we ran into was a bunch of South Bend townies who go to the game versus the Notre Dame grads. Maybe that's what we were experiencing. We just got unlucky there.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that experience is different. I think also when a program, although it was the same way this way 6 years ago, when your opponent is of no threat, you're a little bit more hospitable when you're not worried about the result on the field.
That's true.
Here's the over-under I'm going to give you for today's game. Over-under rush yards against. Over-under, in other words, rush yards for Notre Dame today. 234.5.
Wow. You're putting it up there, huh?
Well, again, I'll cite the numbers. Notre Dame has averaged 221 yards their last 2 weeks. Florida State has averaged giving up 260 yards the last 2 weeks.
I'll go under. I'll go, 228.
228. Okay. Well, we have that. We also have the post-game show coming up for you on Warchant TV. That will be live 10 to 15 minutes after the game, unless it is a laugher. If it's a laugher, we'll see you in the fourth quarter. Buddy, I hope you enjoy the travels today.
I will, and I'll promise you this. If for some reason a miracle happens here at Notre Dame, and Florida State is in a position to win the game in the fourth quarter, if you guys want to start that post-game show, I'll come in live from the stadium with all of the celebration, because I'm in the Florida State section surrounded by nothing but Noles. It could be getting loose up there if we have a miracle on our hands, Tom.
Well, judging by the shots they had in the promo video at thespiritexpress.com, the promotion we ran, it could be very rowdy one way or the other. That's a long tailgate maintained today. Actually, you know what? No, don't maintain. Have the time of your life today in South Bend, buddy.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'll maintain. I got the kids in tow. I got to keep it together. I'm not having to drive, but I don't want to be a fool either.
You're not a fool if you head to warchant.com for pregame updates. Who the hell knows who's going to play, who's not? But you can find out on the Tribal Council that's coming up before the game. Live updates from the stadium. We do have staff on site. Irish Affel, Aslan Hajavandi are both there. They're going to be in the press box. Jeff will be with the fans. We have you covered head to toe. Post-game show 10 to 15 minutes after the game. Again, our thanks to our sponsor of today's video/show, Hotel Indigo Tallahassee. The JCS returns on Wednesday of next week. If there's breaking news of any kind over the next 24, 48 hours, we'll have some Jeff Cameron Show content, but we're also going to keep you locked here on Warchant TV. Any final thoughts? It looked like you wanted to say something there.
No, I just appreciate everybody tuning in, and it's a beautiful day for football. It's starting to warm up. The sun's coming out now. It's getting a little bit better. I think it's going to be a chilly one, Tom. I got to tell you, I know that it projected to be unseasonably warm. It's not. It's cold. I'm old and it's cold.
I'm old and it's cold. That is Florida State in 2024. Even when it's 100 degrees outside, we're as cold as ice on offense. Let's see if that changes today. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll talk to you next time on Warchant TV.